Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. Kuzno wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws and plays a tap-fetid pools. Max plays a forest, paying a green for an Abyssin's Pilgrim. Arja plays a swamp and casts Stitcher's Supplier. He mills 3 as it enters. Mathieu displays a command tower. Kuzno's got a swamp for turn and casts Soul Ring. He's then able to cast Norman Osborn and pass. Max draws, plays Path of Ancestry, and then casts legal magic card Peter Parker. It resolves and he passes. Arja's got up Conduit Pylons, and then casts Fell, targeting Peter Parker. He then pokes Max for 1 with the Stitcher Supplier, and passes. Mathieu draws, playing a Windswept Heath for turn, and sacrifices it, losing 1 for an untapped Sacred Foundry. He then pays 2 for a Gwen Stacy, exiling Cosima to her trigger as she enters, and passes. Kuzno takes 2, playing an untapped Steam Vents, and casts Talisman of Dominance. He then hits Arja for 1 with Norman, and connives. Norman gets a +1/+1 counter as Kuzno bins the card, and Kuzno then transforms him, and then casts Talisman of Indulgence from his graveyard for free, thanks to the Green Goblin reducing its cost and allowing him to cast it with Mayhem. He follows up with a Crypt Breaker and ships it. Max plays a Seachrome Coast, and then hits Kuzno for 2 with a Spider token. After that, Max casts Casal, getting a Lush Portico, and passing. Arja's got a Swamp, and casts Xu-Ifit. Mathieu draws, playing a Glacial Fortress, and then suspends Ecstatic Beauty. He then casts the Omen Keel from Exile, and passes. Kuzno's main phase has Taval's Judgment coming in, and he then plays Pumpkin Bombs, and swings the Green Goblin at Max, who takes the hit for 4. In his post-combat main phase, he activates the Pumpkin Bombs, and pings and then gives it to Max. After discarding, Kuzno then casts Emic Selk of the 3rd seat from his graveyard at the reduced cost, picking the mode of Taval's Judgment to draw a card. He then plays a Polluted Delta. Max draws and casts Rip, and then plays Windbrisk Heights. He then hits Arja for 3 with Casal, and passes. Arja's main phase has him playing a Swamp, and then activating Xu-Ifit to reanimate the Eldrazi Ravager. He follows it up with Corpses of the Lost, and then sends the Eldrazi Ravager at Kuzno, and the Stitcher Supplier at Mathieu. Matt crews the Omen Keel, and blocks it, while Kuzno takes the hit for 7. With the Stitcher Supplier hitting the graveyard, Arja then mills 3 more. He then bounces Corpses of the Lost back to his hand, and passes. Mathieu draws, and crews the Omen Keel once more, sending it at Arja. He takes the hit for 3, and then plays Crypt of Agadim off the Omen Keel. And Matt then casts Fable of the Mirror Breaker, making a Goblin token. He passes after that. Kuzno's got a Reflecting Pool, and activates Crypt Breaker, discarding an Arcane Signet. He then casts the Arcane Signet for free, and draws off Taval's Judgment. He follows that up with a Mask of Schemer. He equips the mask onto Emmett, and swings it at Mathieu. Matt jumps with a Goblin token, and Kuzno then passes. During the end step, Max activates the Pumpkin Bombs and gives them to Mathieu. Max draws and swings Casal and Rip at Kuzno, and the Spider token goes at Mathieu. With Casal attacking, Max activates his ability, transforming it and pumping his team by +2/+2 and Trample. Before blocks, Max activates Windbrisk Heights and casts Elrond of the White Council. Arja and Kuzno vote for Fellowship, while Mathieu and Max choose Aid, with Max getting a zombie and a skeleton from the Fellowship votes. Kuzno and Matt then take their damage. Because an opponent has taken damage, Kuzno is then able to use Selk's ability and cast Infernal Grasp in his graveyard, targeting Casal, and picks the mode to make a zombie token from Taval's Judgment. They also remember Rip's trigger, and Max gets Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite, Ponyball, and Kolvori off of its trigger. Max then plays a Breeding Pool tapped, and passes. Arja plays Takanuma as his land for turn, and then casts Unmarked Grave, going to find Death's Shadow to bin. He then uses Xu-Ifit on Death's Shadow, and brings it out. He then recasts Corpses of the Lost and goes to combat. Arja swings both creatures at Max, and he chumps both of them, and Arja then passes. Metchia draws, and then discards Prairie Stream to the Fable of Mirror Trigger. He then casts Arcane Signet and foretells a card. Kuzno's turn has him drawing and moving the Mask of the Schemer to the Green Goblin, and sends the Green Goblin at Max. Max in turn casts Path to Exile and targets the Green Goblin, but Kuzno is ready with Rights of Refusal, discarding Underworld Breach to counter it. Max then takes 4, and Kuzno connives, discarding only 1 non-land card. After combat, Kuzno then casts Deep Analysis, drawing 2, and draws off Taval's Judgment, drawing a total of 3. He then plays an island, and casts Thirst for Knowledge, discarding Xander and Swiftfoot Boots. And because of the Green Goblin, is then able to cast the Swiftfoot Boots from his graveyard for free. He picks the mode from Taval's Judgment to get a zombie this time, and then follows up by casting Xander from his graveyard at a reduced cost as well, picking the last mode to make a treasure. He targets Max with the Xander trigger, and Max discards half his hand. After that, Kuzno passes. Max draws and casts Elish Norn, and Metchia crews the Omen Keel before Gwen gets taken out, and Kuzno taps his zombie tokens to draw off the Cryptbreaker. Elish Norn then resolves, dealing with the small creatures, and Max swings Rip and Elrond at Kuzno, and his zombie token at Arja. Before damage, Kuzno pops his treasure token to cast Pongify, targeting Elish Norn. And once she's taken out, then moves to blocks, blocking Elrond with Xander and taking 4, with Archer also taking 4 as well. Max in turn then gets 4 creatures off of Rip's triggers, and passes. Arja draws, cycling Spectral Snatcher, and then plays a Swamp for turn. He then taps Xu-Ifit, reanimating the Snatcher, and sends everything at Max. Max jumps the Death's Shadow, but takes 14. After combat, Arja casts Songs of the Damned, and then Twisted Abomination. He passes after that. Metchia plays his Thundering Falls, surveilling 1. He then recasts Gwen. This has him exiling a Sword of the Forge and Frontier to her trigger, and he passes after that. Kuz has got a Sulphurous Springs and then cycles Void Beckoner. He puts the Death Touch counter onto Emmet, and then casts the Void Beckoner from his graveyard for reduced cost, picking the mode to draw from Taval's Judgment. Kuzno then continues with Careful Study, drawing 2 and discarding 2. He then sends the Green Goblin at Arja, and Arja takes the hit for 5, with Kuzno conniving, discarding 2 non-land cards this time. He's then able to cast Dimir Signet from his graveyard for free. He follows it up with Propaganda, making a treasure, and then pops the treasure to help get Ret Tomb Mystic. Kuzno then recasts Careful Study with Emmet's ability, and after resolving it, casts Izzet Signet, and then Ledger Shredder, and passes. Max draws and begins his turn with Karametra, and then casts Llanowar Elves and goes to find a Temple Garden. He follows up with Noble Hierarch, going to get a Canopy Vista. And he then moves to combat, sending Rip at Matt. Matt in turn crews up the Omen Keel and blocks, with Max revealing 2 creatures off of Rip's trigger. He passes after that. Arja draws and reanimates Sidisi with Xu-Ifit, and then attempts to be political a bit. He threatens to swing everything at Matt if he doesn't use the pumpkin bombs on Kuzno to take him out, but Mathieu threatens removal back. Arja then negotiates with Kuzno to take out Xander, and send the trigger at Max, which Kuzno agrees to. This is Arja casting Bone Shards and discarding Desolation Twin, taking out Xander, and with Xander hitting the graveyard, Max loses half of his board. Arja then goes to combat and swings out at Max. Max chumps the 2 biggest creatures, but drops to 4. After that, Arja returns Corpses of the Lost to his hand and passes. Matt's upkeep has him casting Ecstatic Beauty from exile, and he exiles his top 3. He then plays a Riverglide Pathway, and follows up with Professional Facebreaker. Matt then makes a copy of the Professional Facebreaker, and sends the newly made token at Arja. He takes the hit for 2. Mathieu then casts Mind Stone and passes. During the end step, Kuzno flashes back Faithless Salvaging, drawing off Tfal's Judgment as well. Kuzno's got an Urborg for turn, and casts Will of the Jeskai, with both modes active. Everyone but Mathieu discards their hand, and draws a fresh 5. Kuzno then impends an Overlord of the Balemerc, and he returns Xander to his hand. He continues by flashing back Thirst for Knowledge, and then casts a free Mind Stone, and then recasts Xander, targeting Arja with the trigger. Kuzno then moves up boots to Xander, and swings Norman and Xander at Mathieu. With the attackers declared, Mathieu activates the pumpkin bombs, and will be donated to Kuzno, and he'll take the damage to get taken out. Responding to this, Kuzno flashes back his own Pongify, and targets his own Xander to take him out. Mathieu sacrifices half of his non-land permanents, and Kuzno continues by flashing back Thirst for Meaning, and then cycles a Waxen Shape Thief, but has no answers to the bomb, and gets taken out. Before Kuzno's turn passes though, Mathieu then casts a Delayed Blast Fireball from Foretell, taking out Max as well. He then passes to Arja. Arja draws and plays Bajuka Bog, exiling Mathieu's graveyard. He then swings out at Matt, who chumps the Death Shadow with the Facebreaker. Arja then casts Marvin after combat, and passes. Matt plays an untapped Hollow Fountain, taking 2, and then casts Stormkiln Artist. Arja's got a Swamp, and recasts Xu-Ifit. He then taps Martin to reanimate the Desolation Twin, and goes to combat. Arja swings out at Mathieu, and Matt makes a copy of Stormkiln Artist with Reflection of the Mirror Breaker. He then blocks the Ravager with a Stormkiln copy, and casts Swords to Plowshares on Death's Shadow. Mathieu in turn makes 2 treasures with his artists, and then casts Reiterate, copying the swords to make a copy. This has Mathieu making 4 treasures this time, and he sends the sword copy at Desolation Twin. Arja then gains a total of 24, while Mathieu takes 10, and Arja passes. Matt draws and flips Gwen Stacy over to Ghost Spider, and then casts Experimental Synthesizer, exiling his top card. He follows that up by copying the artist with a Reflection again, and plays Savine's Reclamation on Professional Facebreaker. Mathieu then sacrifices some treasures to the Facebreaker's ability, exiling the top card of his library, and hits a Soul Ring, which he casts from exile and puts a counter onto Ghost Spider. He then continues by exiling his top card again, and hits Raven Form. He then casts Raven Form on his own synthesizer. Ghost Spider continues to grow, and Mathieu sacrifices another treasure, exiling Scalding Tarn off the top, and plays it. Matt then removes 2 counters from Ghost Spider to exile his top card, hitting a land. He then sacrifices 2 treasures, and hits Sage of the Great Beyond, and Glimpse the Impossible. Matt then moves to combat, sending Ghost Spider at Arja, and makes a treasure token after she connects. He then cracks the Scalding Tarn for a mountain, and casts Glimpse the Impossible. This has him exiling his top 3, and he then removes 2 counters from Ghost Spider but hits a land. And after that, Matt bins the card from Glimpse, making 3 spawn tokens, and passes. Arja draws and casts Dread Return, bringing back the Fleshbag Marauder. Arja then sacrifices his Sidisi, and Mathieu sacrifices his Reflection. Arja then plays Stitch Together, bringing back Sidisi, and exploits itself to tutor for a card. Arja then activates Xu-Ifit on Sidisi, and then Marvin on the Spectral Snatcher. Going to combat, Arja swings out at Mathieu. Mathieu jumps with his spawns, Facebreaker, and the bird token. With nothing else, Arja passes. Matt draws and flashes back Savine's Reclamation, getting back the Professional Facebreaker and Fable of the Mirror Breaker. He then cracks a treasure to exile his top card, and gets a Clifftop Retreat, which he plays and puts another counter onto Ghost Spider. He then continues by sacrificing his other treasure to exile his top card again, and this time hits Vega the Watcher, which he casts. Ghost Spider gets a counter, but then Mathieu removes 2 of them to exile a land off the top. He then casts Sword of Fortune Frontier. He then sacrifices his spawns to equip the sword onto Ghost Spider, and sends her at Arja. This is Arja taking the full hit, and Mathieu exiles his top 2 cards, and makes a treasure token off the Facebreaker, plus he'll get an extra land drop this turn. He hits Heroic Hangout off the Forge and Frontier trigger, and casts it, triggering everything again, and this time hitting an Exotic Orchard, which he then plays. He then exiles the top card again with Ghost Spider's ability for a Lightning Bolt, which he casts on Xu-Ifit. Mathieu then follows up by cracking a treasure, exiling a land off the top, and then cracks another treasure for Eruth. He doesn't have a way to stop Arja though, so we move to Arja's turn. Arja untaps and casts a Malboro, taking out Mathieu with the trigger as it enters, and winning the game. Game review time. So here's a question for you all. How do you rate the best play or best card in the game? For me, it's a bit difficult, because oftentimes I find there's a bunch tied together. In this case, Xu-Ifit was very strong, and Corpses at a lost. I think Xu-Ifit making giant creatures is great, but they didn't have haste. Whereas I think Corpses at a lost giving his skeletons haste is great, but he wasn't able to get anything out of it outside of the 2/2s that came in with it. That being said, the 2 of them worked beautifully well together, and it was really cool to see. Other than that, I was super impressed with Green Goblin, and I'm really looking forward to playing it a bit more, even though I know Spider-Man isn't everyone's favorite set. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.